I now spend just 25 minutes a day on this, and that's down from 3.5 hours a day at weekends just a few weeks ago. And I've managed to cut my screen time so radically by making just 5 simple changes to my iPhone setup that you probably don't even realize you're able to make. And all of that will take just 10 minutes. Let's dive in. So step 1 is to cleanse your home screen. That means removing from any of the pages on your home screen any of the apps that you unintentionally go into and end up scrolling through. Now, I, in a previous phone setup, moved all of my social media apps to a separate folder on the second page of my phone setup, but I found that I ended up just quickly flicking, going into the folder and opening those apps pretty much just as readily as when they were loose on the first page of my phone. So I've now removed them all together from any of my home screens. Then, even once I had done that and installed an app called OneSec, which causes this delay when you want to go into one of these distracting apps, I then found that instead my mind just sought dopamine from other apps. So I would scroll through my emails, which was really boring. Like, there was no reason for me to be doing that, but it was just satiating my brain's need to scroll and look at distraction. And I found I was doing basically the same, tracking video performance in YouTube Studio and also looking at how my investments were performing, that green, red, daily up or down movements of the stocks that I've invested in. So I've now deleted all of these distracting apps from every single page of my phone home screen, meaning that I have to actively search for any of these apps in order to get into them. And I think that has created enough of a barrier to entry that I don't anymore really find myself just going into an investment app to get a dopamine hit. Instead, I have a really intentional approach to how I've set up my phone home screens. I have 5 different home screens for the 5 purposes my phone serves. So task management and planning, learning and listening, messaging and email, health and fitness, and memories. Before I go into these pages in a bit more detail, I first want to address the permanent bar at the bottom of your phone. So previously I had Chrome and email in that bar. Those 2 apps cause me to scroll. Chrome now has this permanent scroll feature where you get loads of articles and stuff that are interesting to you. So instead I have now replaced that with Trello. There's very little dopamine I'm getting from scrolling through my various to-do lists. And I also have iMessage and the phone app. I keep iMessage just because that's where I receive all of the important messages in my life from Beth, my mum, my dad, and those are the ones I really want to reply to. All right, so what are those 5 home pages that I have set up? So the first one is dedicated to task management and planning. This is basically the screen that I see whenever I unlock my phone, and it has all of the things that are related to what I need to do on a day-to-day basis. So first up, we have Trello, which is permanently in the bottom bar, and I have 2 shortcuts on my phone home screen. I really recommend whatever to-do list app you use, you add shortcuts from this home screen to be able to quickly add to-do list items. So I have one, which goes to my general to-do list, so I can just quickly tap on that, type and add a to-do list item into Trello on that list. And I also have a work button, which allows me to add something to my work to-do list. Shortcuts are super easy to set up and add to your home screen. Just quickly Google, find a YouTube video on how to do that. And then have a calendar widget in the top left, just a small one so that I can just see quickly the high level events that I have going on during the day. I also have an Endel focus timer. You guys know probably from previous videos that I'm a huge Endel fan. It's the app I use to play music to get me in a focus mode when I'm at work. And I have this now really cool focus timer that gives me 2 60-minute sessions with 5-minute breaks in between. I play that when I'm at work on my home screen right here. And then also have an Apple Notes widget. Apple Notes is the app I use just to jot ideas down. So that shows the latest note I've accessed and you can quickly click through to notes. And also a done app widget so I can quickly see how many of the workouts that I'm supposed to complete in a week I have completed. I can tap on it and go in to see how many of the runs or walks I've completed. I then have app icons for Google Maps because I need to use that all the time, and also settings. You'll notice, again, none of these apps are apps that you go into to scroll through. So again, if I go on my phone to distract myself, it's deeply unsatisfying. Okay, I can set myself a focus timer or have a look at how my habit tracking is going. Not really giving me much dopamine, is it? All right, on top of these changes to reduce my screen time, I've then also been searching out awesome apps to level up my experience when I am using my phone. And one of my favorite and most used apps that powers every bit of money that I spend now is CurvePay, today's sponsor. So CurvePay allows you to add all the cards you have across different bank accounts into the Curve app, and you can then pay online or in person using your digital Curve card. You can also get a physical card, and that payment will come off the debit or credit card that you choose within the Curve app. As I keep almost all my cash in savings accounts rather than in current accounts, my card does sometimes get declined. Pretty embarrassing, right? But with Curve's anti-embarrassment feature, if your primary bank card has insufficient funds, it'll then use a secondary card so you never get declined. I've also set up smart rules within the Curve Pay app so that when I pay for groceries, they come out of my joint account with Beth. When I pay over £100, I pay with my rewards credit card. But the main reason Curve has changed the game for me is that I travel a lot for work and on holidays. And Curve allows me to avoid the really expensive foreign exchange fees charged by traditional banks, especially on credit cards, when using them abroad. Sometimes I can pay as much as £50 in fees on a hotel booking. Instead, Curve gives competitive FX rates and charges 0 commission, so you can use your Curve card, get amazing FX rates, and still get the benefits of your rewards credit or debit card. And finally, Curve also offers cashback on top of the cashback you get from your underlying bank that issued your card. So when you're using your Curve card, you can get double the benefits from your spending. So yeah, join me in powering all of your spending using Curve by downloading the Curve app through the link at the top of the description and start using your Curve wallet today. My second home screen page is then learning and listening. On this page, I have a widget for each of Audible, podcasts, and music. So when I'm on my commute, I can basically very quickly decide, do I want to continue listening to Adam Grant's Hidden Potential, or listen to the Rest is Politics podcast that I'm halfway through, or listen to some music, and then have the 4 apps I'm currently subscribed to for learning, so LiveXP and Duolingo for language learning, Skillshare, and Blinkist. And finally, right at the bottom, I have the 2 news apps that I use most frequently, the Financial Times and BBC News. Essentially, all this means is that even if my brain is really searching for dopamine, I scroll just to the second page on my phone. Then I can go on Duolingo and start learning a language, or on the Financial Times and start reading about business. Both of these outcomes that I'm happy with and generally pretty happy to spend time on. So again, if my brain does search for dopamine, I end up in a place that is really positive and has a positive impact on me. Third, I then have this very bland page with just 4 apps at the top, the messaging apps and email apps that I use. So WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger. I then obviously have iMessage in the permanent bar at the bottom, and then 2 email apps, one the Apple Mail app, and second the Proton Mail app that I use for all of my personal email. The fourth home page is then fitness and health. Now, I don't have this generally accessible when I scroll through my phone. I have to turn on fitness focus mode, and I'll come on to focus modes later in this video. But when I turn on fitness focus mode, I then get this different page. And this fitness page has any of the apps I might open while I'm in a workout, but essentially the purpose of this is to mean that when I'm going to the gym for a workout and I have an hour in the gym, I want to be focused on my workout and I want to be listening to a podcast or some music, but I don't want to be doing loads of other stuff on my phone, constantly messaging. I want to be in the zone and focused on my workout. So on this page, I have 3 widgets. One, the Apple Fitness widget. Second is a multi-widget with different media in it. So I have my podcast, Audible, and also music all in one little widget, so I can choose what I want to listen to while I'm working out. At the bottom, I then have a big done app widget, so I can quickly add whether I've done a run or a walk or a workout, and then the different fitness apps and other apps that I like to access when I'm working out. So we have Runkeeper, Peloton, Strong, which I use to track workouts, a meditation app, the Notes app, which I use to jot down notes if I have ideas while I'm working out, and finally Frame, which is the video review software that I use with my video editor. I occasionally review videos while I'm on an exercise bike in the gym. That's the only task I'll allow myself to do, so I have that accessible when I'm in fitness mode. And then finally, memories. I just have a big photo at the top here as a widget, and then below that, the Apple Photos app icon that I can go into my photos. The lovely thing about the featured photo widget, I think, is that often it will be a photo of me and a friend. When I see it, it makes me smile, and then I often send it to them. It just lets them know I'm thinking of them. A really nice touch. I really strongly recommend setting up an entire page just for a photo widget and whatever photos apps you use. Again, if the place my brain goes to get dopamine is looking through lovely photos of me and my loved ones and friends, then that's not such a bad thing. All right, so step 2 is the tone down color. Now, when I previously had set up my phone, I had a really bright photo as the background, and then all of the apps were really bright and I had notifications everywhere. So The idea here is, again, to reduce the dopamine we get from looking at the phone. And we do this in two ways. First of all, let's change the background color. So I have set mine to be this deep, dark aqua color for my general, and then I also have different colors set up for the different focus modes. And secondly, changing the color of our apps. So I use dark icons for my general phone mode, and then when I put my phone into sleep focus mode, those icons turn to be tinted purple icons. So using a combination of dark background plus tinted or dark icons, we can radically reduce the amount of color we're getting from our phone, the amount of dopamine we get from opening it, and therefore reducing our likelihood of going into our phone and get distracted. Final point on phone aesthetic, you can either set your icons to be large or small. If they're small, you'll have text underneath them saying what the app is. I personally know what all the app icons mean, so prefer to have no text underneath. I think it looks cleaner. Choose what you think works best for you. And just to show you how this works in the different focus modes, in fitness mode, you'll see that I have a slightly lighter blue background just to signify I'm in fitness mode. And when I go into sleep mode, you'll see that I have this really dark background with purple tinted icons. I think there's nothing that says sleep time like a really bland phone screen with these just 5 apps, all tinted purple. It makes looking at my phone before bed pretty unattractive. It's also, I have to search to go into Instagram to scroll before bed. It honestly has been a complete and total game changer. All right, step 3 is to turn off notifications. Now, we've all heard you should turn off your notifications, put on Do Not Disturb when you are working so you don't get distracted. So the first thing you need to do is turn off notification badges, those little red icons that say you've got 3,472 unread emails. I turn them off for every single app other than iMessage. As I said, is where I get messages from my nearest and dearest, and those are the ones I really need to know. Other than that, I don't have any badge icons that appear. So I'm not encouraged to go into my WhatsApps or my emails unless I choose to dedicate time to that. Then the second thing we need to be doing is stopping notifications when we're in focus modes. So I have a work focus mode that I get no notifications other than from Beth, my mum, my dad, and a few other important people when I'm at work. Similarly, in sleep mode, I get no notifications other than phone calls and messages from those important people. And in fitness mode, I get messages from a slightly broader group of people, but again, no notifications for any other apps. And yeah, this does mean that I often don't reply to people that quickly, but it also means that I dedicate time to reply to emails and messages on my own time when I want to, without it taking over lots of my focus time during the day, meaning that I get better work done and get more quality time with Beth. But importantly, if you are going to follow this method, you do need to carve out time to reply to messages and emails. So I generally check my business, like YouTube, etc. emails on a morning or an evening when I'm on my commute to make sure if there's anything urgent that's come in that day, I do respond. Step 4 is the big one. It is to create focus modes. So you probably realize that there's this thing called focus modes on iPhone. Maybe you've set some up, but I would imagine you probably haven't harnessed the full power of focus modes. At least I hadn't before I looked into how to set these up properly. So first of all, you want to think about the different contexts in which you use your phone. What activities are you doing when you're using your phone? And you want to set up focus modes for each of those things. So how do you do this? You go into settings, then you scroll down to focus, and there you have your focus mode. So I personally have 4 focus modes. The first is work, that turns on automatically when I get within proximity of the office, or I can manually turn it on when I'm working from home. Basically limits notifications and also blocks access to a number of distracting apps. Second, I have sleep mode. Now this automatically switches on when it gets to 11:45, which is generally around when I'm going to bed. It also could be manually switched on if I'm going to bed earlier. Third, we have fitness mode, and fourth, do not disturb. This blocks all notifications other than Ring doorbell notifications so that I don't miss parcels. Once you've created the focus modes that you want, you can then customize your home screen for each of the different focus modes. So you do this by, from the lock screen, pressing and holding on the lock screen, and you can then in the bottom right hand corner add different home screens for your different focus modes, and you can set then from that home screen which focus mode that will apply for. So I have one set up for sleep, I have one set up for focus, and I have one set up for fitness. Once you've set up each of the different home screens for each of the different focus modes, you can then just select that home screen, tap and hold when you're on one of the home pages and edit the home screen, and that will change it just for that focus mode, so you can have totally different home screens for each of the different focus modes. Then the final thing I recommend you do is set up shortcuts so that you can quickly switch between each of the focus modes from your control center. So to do this, you go into the Shortcuts app, you create the shortcut to turn on the focus mode until a certain time or until it's turned off. Once that is set up, you can then customize your control center, which is what happens when you swipe down from the top right of your phone, to basically add buttons so that I can just quickly tap a button and turn on sleep mode, for example. Okay, and the final step is the Prioritise learning app. So as I said, I have an entire page dedicated to listening and learning. And the idea here is, yes, this video is all about reducing your screen time, but actually it's also about increasing the utility of your screen time. So when I do have a spare moment, or I'm waiting around for a train, or I'm commuting, I can turn to my phone and learn a language, learn a new skill on Skillshare, or read up on the world of business on the Financial Times. I can radically improve the quality of the content that I'm consuming on my phone and really make this a tool that enhances my life and my knowledge, rather than something that sucks the energy and happiness out of me on those kind of doom scroll apps like TikTok and Instagram. So yeah, I hope now you can go away and completely overhaul your phone setup to make this the most useful tool you have in your pocket. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. It really helps the channel get seen by more people. Drop a comment below to let me know your thoughts, and I look forward to speaking again very, very soon.